He looked into my eyes and he said, I can recognize you. You are my old devotee. And I felt a very big smack and I woke up with that pain. So that smack was for real because the pain was still there when I woke up.
Sairam, Dr. Ong, Sairam, Sister Bu.
Sairam, Brother Yong.
Dr. Ong, you are born in Muar
Yes.
and has been practicing as a medical doctor in Muar
Yes,
for
sir.
almost 40 years. How long have you been married to Sister Bu?
We were married in 1969. My mother went to Kuan Yin Temple to fix a wedding date for us. And it happened to be November 23rd, which is Swami's birthday. So every Swami's birthday is also our wedding anniversary.
Oh, that's great. So how do you come to know Swami?
One day, a friend of mine passed me a stack of books on Baba's book.
When was that?
I think it's 83. Yes.
When he brought back the stack of books, Sai books, and it was left aside on the table for actually few weeks, and we were not interested. And then one night, when he was at night clinic, I had the urge to pull out one book and see what it's about. So I pulled out Brother Jagadisan's Journey to God Part 1. I read a few stories and I felt that it was so amazing. That is there really such a God man? And then he came back from work. I told him about the book. He read the book until nearly 4 a.m. page by page, both of us together. Then when we finished reading the book, I said, that's it, I must look for the Sai Baba Centre. So we went to the centre. It was in a classroom in the Tamil school, and people were singing, clapping, and I thought it's a strange language, and most of the people there were Indians. The song sounded strange to me, but I enjoyed it. So from there, I kept on going back. Brought the children there, no turning back. Until today, we'll be attending bhajans. After attending a few bhajans, we decided that we must make a trip to the author of the book, Journey to God Part 1, who is Brother Jagadisan. So we found out his address. We drove there with all the 6 kids in the car, 2 of us, 8 of us. We went to Brother Jaga's house, and he was a stranger to us then, the first time meeting him. He was very loving and very warm. He greeted us very kindly, and he actually briefed us something about Baba. And also he gave us a few items like picture cards and also a framed picture of Swami with the third eye, and also gave a picture which was rolled up. So after visiting Brother Jaga, we made a trip to the Krishna Silk store. We bought some bhajan tapes, cassette tapes, and also the man there gave us a few packets of vibhuti, which we didn't really know very much how to use it and all that. And also he gave us picture cards also, so we had quite a number of picture cards to bring home that day. And then after Krishna Silk store, we visited the Buddhist Vihara in Bridgefields, and we went there to pray and also to buy a statue of Lord Buddha. Yes, we came back, we added on the Buddha statue and Swami's picture on the altar. I framed the Swami's picture, which was in a row, so I added those onto my altar. Ernest was my 5th child and the older boy, in the family. And he was only 3+ at the time. One day, he came running to me and said, Mommy, Sai Baba spoke to me. I asked him, where, how? He took my hand and then he kind of dragged me to the back room upstairs. Then he pointed to the picture. I remember I brought the picture back from Brother Jaga, the one with the third eye, which I leaned on the door on the table. And he dragged me into the room and said, Mommy, Sai Baba spoke to me from this picture. But his voice was all over the room. He said, Ernest, share your marbles. At that time, Ernest had a little tin of marbles which he never allowed his younger brother, 1 year younger to him, Fergus, to play with. So he said when Swami called him Ernest, he was very happy that Swami called him by his name. You see, his Swami came to speak to him and asked him to share his marbles. Swami has said, when I'm with children, I'm a child. So maybe that's why Swami spoke about children's things, the marbles to him. About 3 weeks later, since I already set up my altar, the Buddha and Swami, I said, they are both from India, they are Indians. So why not I buy the Indian joss-stick to use instead, So I went to the Indian shop and I bought a packet of Indian joss-stick, which happened to be jasmine scented. So the first time I lit that joss-stick, Ernest came running to me again and said, Mommy, Sai Baba is this smell. Imagine 3 years plus, and after 3 weeks, he could still remember the smell. So it was amazing. One day, Ernest woke up in the morning and he called up for me. He was actually crying, so I went to him and he said, Mommy, can you please call Papa? I'm not feeling well. So usually when my children are sick, they won't call for the Papa, they will call for me. But this time Ernest called for the Papa. Usually the Papa will joke with them and say, oh, give him a jab and all that. Then they will be screaming and running away. I said, it's okay. So I tried to carry him up on the bed and then he couldn't stand. Somehow his leg kept caving in, so he couldn't stand. So after a few times I got worried. Something is very wrong with him. So I said, okay, I will call Papa, you see. So I put him back and I went to phone my husband and he said, there's a crowd here. Let me clear the crowd, then I'll go back as soon as I can. So I said, okay. So I went back to Ernest. I carried him. I said, Ernest, we'll pray to Swami. Then I said, Swami, please help my son. I think he's not well. Then I put him back on the bed. After I put him down, my phone rang. And there's my new friend actually from the Sai Centre, Sister Saro. I just knew her almost just very recently. So what she said was, Mrs. Ong, a friend just came back from Puttapati. He's brought back some vibhuti and I know that I have to give it to you. So when I heard that, I was quite stunned because I just prayed to Swami and then now my friend is phoning me and telling me about Puttapati and vibhuti. So I said, okay, where's your house? She gave me instructions to go. So I drove there. And when I reached her house, she said, I actually didn't know your phone number. But because I know I have to give the vibhuti to you, I went to search in the phone directory. When I heard that, I was like going to cry, you see. So I told her about Ernest. It just happened that he couldn't really stand and I prayed and this thing is happening. And she said, you just put some vibhuti on his forehead and on his tongue. So I took the vibhuti home. I drove home crying, crying in amazement actually that such a thing can happen. I gave it to Ernest as how my friend taught me, on the forehead and on the tongue. And then a short while later, he was running about the house. He came downstairs, running in the kitchen. So I called my husband and said, you don't need to come back anymore. Ernest is all right now. And when he came back for lunch, I told him the story of how Ernest became okay.
Dr. Ong, I understand that in the early days, you were busy with your work at the clinic. How do you manage your time with the Sai activities?
Yeah, those early days, I was running night clinics for the 6 days. And then subsequently, I decided to attend the bhajan. I decided to close my Thursday night so that I will be able to attend the center bhajan.
Tell us about how the Muar centers evolved from having their bhajans at the Tamil school.
Yeah. For a period of time, we were running the center at a center at the Tamil school, our bhajan there. And then subsequently, we moved to a rented place at a Sai devotees house, first floor. And after a while, after some years, I tried to get our devotees, our center people to help own our own center. And It happened that there was a project going on. They have a building, a block, a unit on the first floor. So we booked the place, and it's very ideal, chosen by Swami, with a lot of parking space down there. So we, with the help of all our Sai friends, we managed to buy over the unit. And then after quite a number of years, the next door unit was for sale. And so I was thinking, why not buy it over and expand the building to the other side? So I bought it over for the center.
Tell us something about the activities that you are involved in the Sai organization.
Yeah. Actually, our center was quite active in our service movement. We adopted Orang Asli settlement in Bukit Kepong, and over the years we have been doing service there, doing medical camp. We planted fruit trees for the Orang Asli, and we also built toilets for them.
You're also involved in some tree planting projects, right?
Oh yes, we had these tree planting projects along the Muar Sai Centre area. Planted quite a number of trees for that son.
In terms of the position in the Sai organization, you have been very active as well. Tell us something about the position.
Over the years, I've been secretary, chairman twice, and then Muar Sai Centre, and subsequently I was elected to be the deputy state coordinator of Johor.
Right. My first trip to Puttapati was in the year 1985, in November, for Swami's 60th birthday. Actually, at that time, my father, myself, and my sister, one of my sisters-in-law, three of us from Muar. 2 weeks before I left for Puttapati, I had a dream of Swami. Okay, in the dream, I was in this big Indian house with the central staircase, huge central staircase. And on one side of the staircase, I saw that a bhajan was going to start. They were preparing to start a bhajan. So, but I was standing there, standing quite far from the altar actually. And then I saw a man in grey robes, standing quite near to me, facing me. So I looked at him and I said, I think he looks like Lord Rama. Although in truth, I don't really know how Lord Rama looks like. But in my dream, I said, I think he looks like Lord Rama. So he looked at me, and as we were both sitting down, going to sit down together, he looked into my eyes, and at that time, I told myself, oh, he's Sai Baba, he's Sai Baba. He looked into my eyes and he said, I can recognize you. You are my old devotee. Yes. So with that, we both sat down, I think, and yes, and I felt a big smack on my chest, a very big smack, and I woke up with that pain. So that smack was for real, because the pain was still there when I woke up. And then I quickly woke my husband up, and I said, I just dreamed of Baba, and I told him the dream. So 2 weeks later, I was on my way to India to see him. Yeah.
Tell us some details about your days in Puttapati.
Okay, when we arrived in Puttapati, we were housed in the round house. So we were housed in that big house with the Kuala Lumpur group. There were sisters and brothers whom we did not know, but we soon made friends, you see. During that time, 1985, the darshan was in the open space, all right? And we sat on the sands. When it rained, we got wet. When the sun came, we became warm. So we were under rain and shine. Swami would come and walk on the sand to give darshan. And
how you feel when you first saw Swami?
Yeah, when I arrived there and when I first saw Swami, he was very far away in his orange robe. But when I saw him, I started crying. Tears started rolling down. Although I didn't know why, I just cried. Okay, so it was a beautiful experience.
Is there any close encounter with him?
Close encounter, one of the days, I think I must have sat on the front row. Because when Swami walked past, I was able to bring up my family photo to him and ask him to bless. So as he blessed the photo, his finger collided with my finger. That is a close encounter, very happy, and also that touching. So on the 23rd of November, my sister-in-law and I were rushing to the Western canteen to take our dinner. As we were walking, rushing to the Western canteen, well, the crowd was so massive. We bumped into one Brother Beng. Brother Beng was at that time, he belonged to the Muar Sai Centre. We also know him just as an acquaintance. But when he saw us, he stopped and he said, "Sisters, I was at the delegates conference today, and Swami mentioned that whoever is here today is the same congregation of people during Lord Rama's coronation." So when I heard Lord Rama's coronation, my dream suddenly had meaning. Because in my dream, I thought I saw Swami as Lord Rama. Yes. So I was so excited that my dream makes sense. You see, the dream 2 weeks before I went. So I was so very excited, and I went to the Western canteen, took my food, but I could hardly eat because I was still so happy and excited. So that was really something that, like Swami telling me, because remember he told me, "I can recognize you, you're my old devotee." So I took it upon myself that I must have been Lord Rama's devotee before.
Sister Bo, after you came back from Puttapati, anything happened?
I continued to go for bhajans with my children, and one fine day I realized that I'm no more having hay fever, Before my trip to Swami, my first trip to Swami, for many years I used to sneeze very badly in the mornings when I get up. I think it's called hay fever. After coming back from Swami's place, I suddenly realized that, hey, I'm no more sneezing. I've been cured. So I thought perhaps when Swami's finger collided with my finger, maybe the cure was made, because it was a lot of discomfort, having to sneeze every morning. And then about 4 months after coming back from Swami's place, 1985, in March 1986, I discovered that I had cervical cancer. So it was found out. I went to see Dr. Koo in Malacca. So some tests were done. So anyway, he referred me to University Hospital, where I underwent further tests, biopsy and all those things. And the surgeon, the gynecologist who was to operate on me later, he said, yes, I was having cancer. So he scheduled an operation day. The operation was done, and I had to be warded for 6 weeks. Perhaps during those times, the treatment was not as advanced as now, so I had to stay in longer. So 6 weeks I was there. I was feeling very sad and miserable. I was missing my family here in Muar. I remember I was pleading with Swami, and I'm having cancer, please save my life. And I'm also too young to die. I told Swami that I need to look after my children, my husband, my children. So I pleaded with Swami to please save my life. I used to look up my hospital room. I saw some distant hills, a room window. I look out the room window and I see some distant hills, and I make believe that is Puttapati. That is Puttapati Hills, and Swami is there. And I also put quite a big picture of Swami at my bedside. And the nurses and doctors will come in and disturb me. What? That's your grandfather. I said, no, he's my guru, he's my God. You see. Later on, before 6 weeks was up, the results came out. The operation was a success. Everything was clean cut. In fact, I went in for a total hysterectomy. It was successfully done, and the surgeon told me we did a very clean cut, so we don't need any treatment. So I was very thankful. I thanked Swami. One of the days when I was lying on the bed, Swami, actually, I saw him walking into my room. I was lying this way, and Swami walked in, and he sat at the side of my bed. He took my hand in his, and he told me, everything will be all right. That was before the results came out. Yeah. So when he told me that, I was very happy. I was very, and I actually saw him sitting on the bed and taking my hand. It was real. It was not my imagination. Yeah. So after telling me that, I didn't see him anymore. Yeah. So shortly after that, the results came out, and it was very good news. So I know it's Swami who saved my life. There was one incident, but it was sometime in the 1990s, I think. My husband and I, we went to Kuala Lumpur because my husband had to attend a Sydney University alumni dinner. And after the dinner, we drove back to Muar. It was already quite late. While driving back, somewhere near the Alogaja toll house, he was feeling very tired. So he said he was stopped under the lamppost. So he said he was stopped there. It's quite bright. He wanted to refresh himself. So at that time, there was a lorry parked behind our car. So our car was parked in front of the lorry. So he was refreshing himself. I was sitting there just looking up. And then suddenly, I saw that there was steam or smoke, I don't know, coming out from under the bonnet of the car. So he got out from the car to look. Oh dear, the car is like damaged. So we couldn't carry on with our journey. And it's already past midnight. So what shall we do? And then the lorry at the behind, it was parked behind us. The driver was very kind. He got down to see what was the matter. And he said probably our car has run out of water. So he helped us to open up the bonnet and all that. He went to his lorry to bring water. And he tried to pour the water into the, what do you call it? Yes, so, but the water didn't stay. I think there was leakage. So there was nothing much he could do. We suddenly remembered Swami. So I took out the packet of vibhuti, I opened up and I sprinkled on the car. I sprinkled the vibhuti on the bonnet and on that I prayed to Swami. Swami, we are stranded here at this hour. It's late and it's dangerous, you know. So please help us. So after praying, I just stood there, just thinking what to do. How to get a taxi even at this hour. Shortly, a car drove past us very fast. Zoom! Went quite far away and then it stopped. And then it started reversing. And it stopped quite a distance from our car. And a man got out from the car. And I saw that he looked familiar. So I told my husband, look, our friend Michael Lin. Michael Lin is coming towards us. And then as he walked nearer, I said, no, it's my own brother. My brother came and he said, I was driving very fast, but I felt that although your car was blocked by the lorry, I could feel that it was you all, because I saw two people who looked like you, looked like both of you. So that's why he decided to reverse and check. We asked him, why are you coming back at this hour? At that time, he was working in Penang. So he said, I had no plan to come back. After work, he felt that he wanted to come back to Muar, because his family are in Muar. So he left from Penang, I think it was about 5 or 5 something. And he was traveling that time, certain parts I think had no highway yet. But he managed to be at that spot at that time when we were stranded. To us, it was like perfect timing. Had he been faster or a little slower, our path wouldn't have crossed. So we were very lucky that he actually chose to come back at that time and to meet us there when our car was in trouble. You know how coincidental is that? But it was not coincidence. Nothing happens by coincidence. It was Swami. Yeah, it was actually the timing that was the miracle.
Sister Bo, all your children have grown up in the Sai family. How are they now?
I talk about bringing my children, the whole lot of them, 6 of them, to the Sai Baba Centre every Thursday for bhajan. So now that they're all grown up, some have taken a bit of different path. I would say that my number 2, number 4 and number 5 children, they are more with Sai. And my eldest girl, she is a very staunch Buddhist. My youngest, the boy, is a Christian. And yes, my third girl, she married a Muslim, so she has become Muslim. And she became a Muslim not because she married a Malay, but because she wanted it. Yes. My family is now like a Sarva Dhamma family. We have a Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, And my children always joke that Papa and Mommy are more like Hindus, but we get along very happily. We respect one another, and if Hari Raya comes, we are all in it, very happy for my girl. And Christmas comes, we go to church also, and Vesak Day also, we all celebrate all this together.
I understand that one of your daughter, Elaine, was involved in the Sai school.
Yes, she's my fourth child and youngest daughter. Okay, she graduated as an architect, and after working for a few years, the architecture firm, to her, she doesn't fit into the environment. She found that there's a lot of arrogance and ego going on, so she wanted out. So finally, she found that the Sai school needed teachers, so she left architecture and went to teach in the Sai school. She taught there, I think, for about maybe 5 years, but now she has left Sai school. She has left Sai school, I think, for the last maybe also 3-4 years, I think, and she's on her own, and she likes to work with children, so she started her own classes with children and all that.
Dr. Ong, how does Swami transform your life?
In the earlier years, my activities was mainly centered on my clinic, but subsequently I was playing a more and more active role in our center, more caring for and serve the poor and the needy in my clinic.
How does the medical camps, the way you organize it, changes over the years?
The medical camp, when I was doing my own practice, I used to bring medicines to the medical camp, and apart from seeing the patient, I also treat them on the spot, as I supply the medicine. After my retirement, I do not handle medicine anymore, so we changed our style. We were doing more screening camps, where we screen up the cases of hypertension, diabetes, obesity, all these things.
How about you, Sister? How does Swami change your life?
I think if I had never known Swami, I wouldn't have taken this spiritual path. Yeah, and because of Swami and his teachings, over so many years I've been reading his books and what he wants us to become. So I have developed more empathy, I would say. I'm much more able to feel how others feel. If they're feeling sad, I can understand them. If they're feeling down, I can understand them. It's like the more emotionally developed, as compared to before I knew him.
Is there any particular saying of Swami that most appeal to you?
I like Swami saying on be good, do good, see good. I feel that if we can be these three, our spiritual journey will be successful. And there's also one thing I like very much one activity that I like very much in the Sai movement is the self-transformation program, the SDP, under Brother Reddy. I learned a lot under him. He gives such good guidance, and he's so exemplary in his own way that I learned to emulate him, So to me, the SDP is very, very important for everyone. Yeah. And I'm also in charge, being the spiritual coordinator for Johor State. I'm also in charge of the SDP program. So I try my best to help my Sai sisters and brothers in Johor with the SDP.
Dr. Ong, who is Sai Baba to you?
I feel that Sai Baba to me, he is my God, and I have been trying to live up to his calling of love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never.
How about you, Sister Boo?
Yes, I also feel that he's my God. More than that, I feel that he's the creator God. And I always tell my friends that without Swami, without Sai Baba, there's nothing. There's nothing. That he knows all of us very intimately. And he can only be the creator God if he knows that. So to me, he's the creator God.
Sairam, Sister Dr. Ong and Sister Gu, thank you so much for spending time sharing with us your story with Swami. May God bless you, Sairam.
Sai Ram.
Sairam.